You're listening to One Bright Star's Life After Loss, a podcast that's focused on the lifelong journey of life after loss, with your hosts Erica Fisher and Alicia Moore. One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast is sponsored by the law firm of Burkholz and Associates. And now, One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast.
Hello and welcome to One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast. I'm Erica Fisher, Executive Director with One Bright Star.
And Alicia Moore, President of One Bright Star.
And today we have Pastor Jillene Gallatin with us. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here again.
Yes, great to be with you again.
So last time we were talking about grief and the journey, the walkthrough. And this time I kind of want to talk about the different stages of grief, the different emotions that go with grief.
Mm-hmm. So I have learned about different stages of grief, and I think for a while there was this thought that you move through one stage at a time, and once you get through it,
it's done. You don't go back.
Going on. But I like a different image of grief more as seasonal. And especially in the Midwest, I think we can understand the different seasons. And they come up, and each season is a little bit different, depending upon the weather and where we're at in life. But with those seasons, I think it helps us understand things may come up again. And I know in my experience, my mom had died by suicide when I was 14. And fast forward, I grew up, got married, began serving a congregation, had kids. But then when I was becoming the age that my mom was when she died, I was just paralyzed with fear and became really, really angry, like almost ragey. And I just didn't know what to do with it. And I was so grateful that somebody else noticed this and said, the anger is not the final stop. There's more behind it. Use the energy of the anger to push through and keep working on that. And it took months, almost a full year to just continue to process but not be afraid of the anger and have ways that I could deal with that. At that time, I ran, and there were some hills. And I remember running up and down those hills till I was exhausted, and I'm sweating and crying and snot and just gross. And I just kept going up and down because I thought, I believe that there is more behind this, and that this anger is not the end. And I want people to not be afraid of me because I feel scary.
Okay.
So, because I have not been this angry. So I think the biggest thing that you can do is be with people, as we've talked about, on their journey and name that as a possibility for them to consider. People have to come to terms with their feelings, but we can invite them to consider. As we've talked about, it's not helpful necessarily to say, I know how you feel.
Right.
But to offer that as an invitation of say, what could this be? Could it be grief?
Could it? Okay.
And are there ways that you've processed some of these other big emotions? What was it like when you maybe felt fear, acceptance, any of the things, and just encourage that conversation. And then I think one of the biggest things that we can do as community is know who are people who have these resources.
Right.
It was very much a gift, just coincidence, to cross paths with somebody who was able to be with me in that time to say, I believe this is anger.
Right.
Let's move through it together.
Yes.
And so since then, I have tried to hear people's story, affirm their naming of where they're at, and accompany them if I can, but also partner them with other people. So,
that's good. That's really good. Jillene, how do you handle people who are really angry with God?
Oh.
Do you make them run with you?
No, because then they'd be angry at me.
Because because I don't think I'd run with you, friend. I like you a lot, but we're pushing it there.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, I invite them to try and name that and process them and say, what is God like to you? What is that about? Are there any images that you can think of where other people have been mad at God? And is that okay? I remember when soon after Mom had died, I was with my pastor, and oh gosh, I haven't thought of this for a while. And he asked me how I was feeling. And at that time, I had some anger, not anything compared to what it was later.
Yes.
But he asked me, so where is God? And at that time, 35 years ago, I said, well, God is in the altar. That was my understanding.
Okay.
And Pastor Blair Lundborg said, then go talk to God. And I said, I can't talk to God. You know, God is good. And he said, well, if you're mad at God, what would it be like if you went and told God you were mad at him? And he said, I think God could maybe handle it. And I remember going in and crying, and I did scream at that time, but I was encouraged to see God as real. Yes. And having somebody encourage me to see God is big enough for this. And so that's why I asked people, where would they start from? Okay. Because Pastor Blair didn't say, you shouldn't feel that way. And Pastor Blair certainly didn't say, do you know Job in the Bible? Later, when Pastor Blair asked, who do you know? What are these stories? Where could you find them?
Right.
But for me, I know that I'm very kinesthetic. I am a mover. I'm a feeler. I'm a processor. So talking to God in that altar was spot on. And I think that allowed me years later, when somebody said, I think this is anger, move through it. I was like, I've done this work before.
Wow. Yes.
So,
okay.
With somebody to hold space for those big questions and not have answers, and certainly not giving me the answers.
Because we don't always have to have
answers. We don't
answers.
have to have
answers. No.
And that's, sometimes I feel like that. I wish I could do more. I wished we had the answers, but yet we don't, we won't, but to be there with them and to hold space, and then just to encourage them to move through it and to keep working through those emotions. So, and I do like that, how you talk about a community. We need to know what our resources are, and then to be able to get them connected to those resources too.
And to stay with them until they get those resources. Like, for example, rather than just say, I know somebody who you could maybe talk to, here's her phone number. But to say,
follow up.
We'll say, I'm going to send a group email, or we're going to do a 3-way call, or I'm going to call you tomorrow to see if you've had a chance to connect.
Okay, sure. That's important.
Oh, huge, that follow through. Because I think that otherwise, without that follow through, without that connection, that can kind of perpetuate feelings of isolation.
Yes. Okay.
Or that person or their story doesn't matter. But by following up, you're saying you matter, your story matters.
Right.
Yes.
And we know that when we've been tired or afraid or anything, to try and connect with somebody new might be really, really hard. But if
scary,
if we follow through to say, that's okay that you didn't call today.
Let me make a connection, or let me do the conference call or something like that.
Or can I give this person your phone number, and can they call you?
Yes.
So that partnership, that accompaniment.
I like that.
Yeah.
Partnership.
Huge.
That's good.
Partnership,
It fosters that community.
Right. Okay.
And I've found, just with my role in One Bright Star, how important the community is through all of this. And because I reach out to so many different nonprofits for resources, to different pastors, to different friends in the community who just have something to help somebody else in some different aspect, in some manner. It's amazing how we can all come together and really...
And our community does do that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of support. We've been fortunate with One Bright Star. We're able to get our name out there. Erica has done a great job with that. and our board has been able to assist with that as well. And now people are knowing that we are out there to help people. They make referrals, or they get them in contact with Erica, with families. But then when we need something, we can reach out, and the community is very supportive. And that's wonderful. I mean, we wouldn't like to think we wouldn't expect anything different, but when we ask, people do step up, and they do show up. And maybe they're not holding space like Erica is with the family, but when they provide other resources that we can then pass on to the families, it's a wonderful community that we live in, and we are thankful.
So thankful, yes.
As some people have said, it's a group that you never want to belong to,
right? But
knowing that it's there, and then being able to let people know, reach out. There are other people. You're not alone, and we will remember and say their name and talk about them. So their loved ones, and ask questions and ask them to share their story, or give them that opportunity to share their story. So
I think that is really important. So this might be a little odd, but it struck me so just spot on. Did any of you see the Barbie movie?
I did see the Barbie movie,
not.
yes.
And it's okay that you didn't. But what just struck me is I think quite a few people have seen that movie.
Yes.
But I want to know how many people caught what I did. In the beginning of the movie, Barbie's connecting with all of her friends, and kind of near the beginning, there's this big dance and singing montage, and everybody's happy. And Barbie looks over at her friend and asks, "Do you ever think about death?" And everybody stops.
It's like,
yes,
really?
The music stops, the singing stops, the dancing stops. Everybody's face becomes very
like, she said a bad word.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for a moment, Barbie's kind of collecting her thoughts, and then she realizes, yes, we can't talk about this. And so then she very quickly says, "Oh yeah, no, me either." And there's just this relief.
Oh.
Well, my husband and I saw that, and he looked over at me, and he's like, "Hey, Barbie," because I'm always talking about grief and
so
loss
funny.
and death.
Yes. We should make a Pastor Jillene and Barbie.
And as I've talked with my own family, to say I'm kind of putting myself out there, because we have experienced loss, and people don't always know who to talk to. And I was talking with my niece, and I said, I'm kind of working on my introduction. "Hi, I'm Jillene. Let's talk about death." And she laughed, and she said, "You maybe want to work on your opening." But she said it's true that we need to know who we can go to ask the questions, not to give us the answers.
Yes, but we don't always need a quick fix or anything like that.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be, we don't have to have a solution.
No.
But we need to know who we can ask the questions to. Erica's involved with compassionate
communities. Nick Blue Cares,
Yes, and we've interviewed death doulas, and I went to some short little segment that I don't know if it was through Mayo Clinic 5 or 6 years ago, and they offered it. I find that very interesting, and I will have some people, because I talk about my funeral, and my husband and I have talked about certain things, and I will ask people, or I will say something, and people are just like, we talk about it. Death it's still taboo for a lot of people. It's getting a little better, but even people don't talk about it unless they absolutely have to. And it's like, I remember hearing a pastor going to a funeral. It was of a teenager, my son's classmate, when she died in a car accident. And the pastor said, "Everyone is living to die. We are all going to die. Why are we so scared to talk about it?"
Yes.
And it's like not all of us are going to get cancer. Not all of us are going to be parents. Not all of us. There's so many different things, but every one of us is going to die.
Right.
But yet we are also afraid. And so I find it interesting. But unfortunately, we're talking about these out of order deaths.
Yes.
Out of order deaths.
What makes it so tragic and so difficult. And so it's so hard to talk about. But yet we want, it's okay, death is there, but when it's out of order, it's very real and raw. But to be able to help people that are going through it, especially the out of order deaths, yes,
because you don't really have don't plan for your child to die.
No.
You don't plan to bury your child.
No.
I mean, the plan is always for the parents to go first. That's just how it's supposed to to happen. I quote unquote that.
Right.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way, and so when it doesn't, we have to have resources to get us through those.
Right. And different, kinds of resources. It's not just dealing with...
And not to, like you said in the beginning, deal through these stages, the 5 stages, because there's no such thing.
Right. Seasons.
Right. I like the seasons, yes.
You'll go through those seasons,
Yes, they will come back.
And some winters might be worse.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think for each of us to be able to recognize it's hard for us to hear people's stories. We can't imagine what it's like to lose a child.
Yes.
But if we can not avoid them, because that, I wonder if it even compounds it. We talk about our children, we talk about our life. They want to talk about their children, their life
I agree.
too. And be okay with the discomfort that they're feeling and that you're feeling.
Right.
Yeah. You've had cold, clammy hands before. Your heart has raced before. You've had sweaty armpits.
Yes.
Just do it again for this person because
Absolutely.
it is their child.
They want to hear their child's name.
Yes.
They want to, even though Jacob isn't with us, when I see my friend Robin, I like to ask her, how old would Jacob be now? Or Jacob would be so proud of his nephews.
Right.
And then she says that they want to hear their name.
Yeah.
And yes.
That was one of the hardest things is when people stop saying my mom's name.
Yes.
My mom's name is Mina Jean, and she was and continues to be an amazing woman.
Yes.
I still feel her, and I still
Wonderful.
giggle at funny things that I remember that she did. And when our family can talk about her, it is a gift.
A little MJ.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That is great.
Yeah.
That is great.
All right. Well, I think this is I feel really good about where I am with this and where One Bright Star is with grief, because I think we are doing what we need to do and we're saying their names. We're remembering, and we are here to hold your hand through the seasons.
Yep.
Yes.
So thank you, Jillene, and thank you, Alicia. This was awesome, and I'll definitely call you again to get you back on here.
Thank you. My honor to be with you.
Thank you so much. Until next time, friends.
Thanks for listening to One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast. Life After Loss is a copyrighted production of One Bright Star. One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast is sponsored by the law firm of Burkholz and Associates. For more information on the lifelong journey after losing a loved one, please visit our website at onebrightstar.org.